It all started innocently enough. One evening, as I was winding down from a long day, I checked my OnlyFans account. I'd been posting content regularly for a while, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then, a message popped up from Chloe. At first glance, I saw nothing unusual, just a fan complimenting my work. It wasn't anything I hadn't heard before. But as the days passed, Chloe's messages became more frequent, more personal. She wasn't just admiring my content anymore, she was asking about me. How was I? How was life outside of the posts and the persona I had built online? And for the first time in a long time, someone genuinely seemed interested in me, not just the version of me that existed online, but the real me. I found myself responding, and as I did, I started sharing more about my life, my marriage, the pressures I felt, the monotony that had crept into my everyday existence. At home, Emily, my wife, and I had a life that looked good on the outside. We had been together for years, had kids, and shared a home filled with memories. But something was missing. The spark we once had seemed to have fizzled out over time. Our conversations, while meaningful, had become routine. The small things we used to do for each other, the little touches, the inside jokes, were now distant memories. We had fallen into a pattern, a comfortable but empty existence. I tried to tell myself it was normal. Life gets busy, right? But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then came Chloe. She was different. She wasn't demanding or pushy, she was patient. She listened. And as I started to tell her things I hadn't shared with Emily in a long time, I realized just how much I missed feeling seen. Chloe made me feel like I mattered, like I was more than just a husband and father. I had become so used to being just those roles, but talking to Chloe, she made me feel like I was something more. It felt good. Too good. But I told myself it was harmless. Just messages. Just a distraction from the dullness that had crept into my life. One night, Chloe sent a message that changed everything. She suggested that we meet up. At first, I laughed it off. I was married. I had responsibilities. It was a ridiculous idea, I thought. But then, the idea kept lingering in my mind, gnawing at me. What if it wasn't such a terrible idea? What if just one meeting didn't change anything? I could control it. I could keep it under control. It wasn't like I was planning to leave my wife. This was just a moment, just one brief escape from the life I was leading. But that thought itself was dangerous. I couldn't see it then, but I can see it now. It was the first step down a path I couldn't turn back from. We met. The chemistry was instant. It was like a spark had been lit, and suddenly, everything else faded away. In that hotel room, I wasn't a husband, a father, or a man who had responsibilities. I was just me. For the first time in a long time, I was just me, and it felt incredible. The way she looked at me, the way she touched me, it was all so easy, so effortless. I felt wanted. I felt desired. But the moment we shared, while exhilarating, was also a betrayal, and I knew it deep down. But I couldn't stop. I had crossed a line. I had made a choice. The next morning, as I woke up alone in that hotel room, I felt a rush of guilt. The weight of what I had done pressed down on me, but I couldn't change it. The damage had been done. I went home to Emily, tried to act normal, tried to hide the secret that was tearing me apart. But every time I looked at her, I saw the truth in my eyes. I had betrayed her. I had betrayed the one person who had trusted me, loved me unconditionally. I couldn't look her in the eyes without feeling like a stranger. The guilt gnawed at me. I couldn't escape it. I tried to convince myself it was just one mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that it wouldn't change how I felt about Emily. But I was lying to myself. It had already changed everything. The relationship I had with Emily was no longer the same. The distance between us grew, not just emotionally but physically as well. We weren't talking the same way anymore. We weren't touching the same way. I tried to make it seem like nothing had changed, but I couldn't fool myself. And worse, I couldn't fool her. Emily could sense something was off. She wasn't stupid. She knew me better than anyone. She started asking questions. Little questions at first, but the more I avoided them, the more suspicious she became. She could see the change in me, the coldness in my eyes. It wasn't something I could hide forever. And I knew it. But I didn't know how to tell her the truth. How could I? How could I admit to the one person I loved that I had betrayed her? The woman who had given me everything. The woman who had stood by me through thick and thin. I couldn't face her with that truth. And so, I continued living the lie. But one night, everything came crashing down. Emily confronted me. She asked me point blank if something was going on. She had seen the signs, the distance between us, the way I acted when I thought she wasn't looking. She knew. And at that moment, I realized that I couldn't lie to her anymore. The words came out in a rush, all the guilt, all the shame I had been carrying for weeks. I told her about Chloe, about the affair, about everything. I watched her face crumble as she heard the truth. It was worse than I had imagined. Worse than I could ever have prepared for. I had broken her. I had shattered the one person I had promised to protect, to love. The silence between us was suffocating. She left that night. She needed space. I didn't blame her. How could I? I had betrayed her trust, her love. I had destroyed everything. For what? A moment of weakness, a moment of escape. And now, I was left alone with the consequences of my actions. The guilt was unbearable. It felt like it was swallowing me whole. Days passed, and Emily stayed away. I stayed in the house, lost in my own thoughts, trying to figure out how to fix what I had broken. But I knew deep down that it wasn't going to be that simple. I had broken her trust, and trust, once shattered, is hard to rebuild. I tried reaching out to her, tried apologizing, but it was like I was talking to a stranger. The warmth, the love, the connection we had shared, it was gone. The distance between us was too great, and I didn't know how to bridge the gap. But I couldn't give up. I couldn't just let this be the end. I had to try. I had to fight for her, for us. Emily came back after a few weeks, but nothing was the same. She wasn't the same, and neither was I. I had to prove to her that I was sorry, that I could be the man she deserved. But I knew it would take time. It wasn't going to be easy, and there would be days when the guilt would be too much to bear. But I had to keep trying. The road to redemption was long, filled with setbacks, filled with moments where I doubted myself, where I wondered if Emily would ever forgive me. But I had to keep going. I had to show her that I could change, that I could be the man I promised to be. But I knew, no matter how hard I tried, that the damage had been done. I could never erase the past. I could never undo the hurt I caused. But all I could do was hope. Hope that one day, Emily could forgive me. Hope that I could earn back her trust. But that hope was fragile, just like the love we had once shared. And now, here I am, trying to rebuild. Trying to fix what I've broken. But the truth is, I'll never be the same. I'll never be the man I was before that night with Chloe. I've learned that love isn't something to take for granted, that trust is a fragile thing. And I can only hope that, in time, Emily will find it in her heart to forgive me.